Perfect. All right. Well, are you guys ready to start?
Or did you want me to do the intro, or did
Oh,
you want
we
me to
will.
do it like later?
Oh no, we'll get you in there when we're officially starting.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But John's distracted, so we never know when he's ready.
I'm
I'm
not.
as I'm just waiting for the show to begin. That's all
the
I'm doing over
festivities.
here.
All right. Well, in that case, Ceraphus, whenever you're ready.
This is Ceraphus from the Sundering and Azeroth Pirate Radio, and you're listening to Azeroth Roundtable.
Ow.
To radio voicey.
No, that's
Oh,
perfect.
that was perfect.
I'm just really
I
happy.
don't know why we always put a delay there. And I don't know why, because I think Ben removes it.
Not really.
Fine.
What do you
I
do with
usually
the
keep this
delay?
part in there though, because the talking before we actually throw everything right into the show. Sometimes it's funny.
It eases people in.
Yeah.
People don't want to. I mean, people hear the intro, they know, okay, they know what they've signed up for, but we don't want to just hit them with news right off the bat, because that might just mess them all up. We want to, okay, they're walking into the conversation, we're talking about the intro to the show, they're like, oh, yeah, it's cool, they're just talking about the intro, I'm here, that's fine. It's like coming into a theater while the previews are just about to start, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good, the movie hasn't begun yet.
Speaking of walking to why are the movie theaters starting to try and be full on? I realize there's some movie theaters that are like restaurants and the theater, but then there's the other ones that are just for movie theaters, and they're trying to sell you would you like to buy a pizza? I'm like, no, just give me my popcorn. I don't want your pizza. Just leave me alone.
Would you
Stop
like a pot
peddling-
roast?
I would like a
we
pot
also have-
roast.
we also have lovely corn dogs. I'm like, no, stop it. You are not a carnival.
We
Stop
are
it.
going to have some lovely Mongolian barbecue that we'll be grilling up right in the middle of the film. So just go ahead and prepare your bowl during the previews, and we'll just take it and throw it on the cooking thing.
I can picture that. It's just this nice, touching moment. All of a sudden,
Get a little hibachi action going on, and all of a sudden, they turn off the lights. The chef can't see where he threw his knife. Next thing you hear a scream, and then there's little kids crying, and it's just a real mess. It'll never work out properly.
he's
Oh
just
my
using
gosh, I wanna go to one of those.
the onion volcano as a lamp.
Every time the movie gets quiet, you just hear them going with their knives and all of that, and all of a sudden they light the whole plate on fire. Just be great.
If they could time it with really good action sequences, or remember that there was a movie Volcano with Pierce Brosnan.
No, that was Dante's Peak.
Okay, Dante's Peak. No, Volcano was with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm confusing volcano movies.
Well, no, it was another one of those weird doubles where the same exact movie came out at the same time, or the
They
same
were
type of movie.
Yeah, and they were just copying off of Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh,
Let's
of
just be
course.
honest here.
Yeah.
Tom
Welcome to
Hanks.
Azeroth Roundtable, episode 108. My name is Ben Bumhoffer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
How weird would it be if I just wasn't here now?
Well, you just talked, so you're here.
I know, wouldn't that would make it extra weird, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess.
Hi, Ben. I'm also here.
I know. I'm happy about that, because otherwise
It's
it would be a
you
little
know what,
weird.
Ben?
What?
Ben.
Yeah.
It's a great week to be a geek.
Yes, it is. We'll get to that.
That's what I'm going to say.
And with us this week is the Bacon Master himself, the king of podcasts, Ceraphus. Welcome, Ceraphus.
I am no king, because I've seen what they do to kings like Joffrey in Game of Thrones. No, I do not want to be the king. No, I stand down.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case... No.
Ben, congratulations, you are the king. At this point, I give you the crown.
Yeah, well, before we start, I do want to say, congratulations on your winning of the WoW Podcaster Tournament of Epicness Greatestness. I don't remember exactly what it's called. There's a lot of, positive adjectives in there. But congratulations. You did a great fight, and I am honored to have lost by you.
Look, I spammed Bacon in Twitter for 5 days. The people who voted for me, look, as much as I love Bacon, you guys have problems. You guys really should have probably voted for Ben. I don't know what to say here. I mean, I thank you, but I mean, like seriously, can we get like someone? Can we point them to Torn Think Tank or someone? They need some like self help or something because there's some clearly wrong life choices going on.
Perfect. So, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, the big question, how we always start out, is what have you been up to, either in or out of WoW?
Well, I'm definitely in, and we wiped all on Thursday night on Heroic Iron Maiden. So yes, we are definitely I'm definitely all in. And but we got close. We got close. We got one of them down. That counts for something, I suppose. But no, so like Warcraft, we're rating. We're 6 out of 10 heroic, and we're 9 out of 10 normal. Which is everyone says that's really weird. Like, Black Hand is just a really long, complicated fight. And my guild has a tendency to like to drink. And as the night progresses, like our attempts don't necessarily like keep getting better. So, but we have fun. So I mean, that's something. They'll probably kill it when I'm not there on Monday, when I have the night off, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, well, we never have to go back and do it again." And then I'll be like, "My raid team," but. I am actually pretty excited because I got the final quest in my quest log for the Harrison Jones garrison missions.
Oh, good.
So as soon as I do that, I guess I get Harrison Jones. So yeah. I'm pretty jacked up about that.
Now that quest was today, right?
I actually got it yesterday.
You're screwed.
Accepted it, and I never finished it.
You're screwed. It's gone. You have to wait for him to come back. Once the reset happens, any quest that you have of his that's actually in your quest log is gone. You have to finish it that day.
Wait, you said the reset. Wait, no.
Ben, you've just destroyed Ceraphus. I actually just watched his hopes and dreams die. I could see it in his eyes. They like glazed over, and he just all of a sudden was viewing as if from a great distance away.
Like I literally accepted before raid last night, and I'm like, I will get to this probably on Saturday morning.
Oh.
And now I'm disappointed, and my whole mood is just shot. So thank you, Ben.
Show's over.
I've killed the king.
Ben.
There we go.
You killed another show, Ben.
I'm so sorry. Well, let me put it this way: would you rather have heard from a friend or found out on your own?
Well, I'm sure the rage on Twitter tomorrow morning, for those of you who have to get up bright and early, would have been amusing. Or even to partake in the FOFs on the Sundering on this Sunday would have been probably pretty epic. But now I think my FOFs are going to change slightly. Ben, I'm looking at you.
I know. Rage at me. Right. That's perfectly fine. You have every reason to.
I am going to make an animated GIF of the moment that Ceraphus found out about this, and I will be giving that to him to post on Twitter.
I feel like I'm going to become an animated meme, and I don't know how I feel about that, but all right.
Well, what's really sad
I feel like it embodied disappointment really well.
Well, I totally pictured like the the little X-ray thing from Grinch Who Stole Christmas, like showing over your heart, and then just watching it just break. Like, oh, because I did see that too. I feel bad. I'm sorry.
I was just all excited. I'm like, oh, it's the final one. I could do it. No, that's not gonna happen.
Maybe he'll be back at your garrison tomorrow.
I still haven't even gotten like the ore trader or the jewel crafter one to show up in my garrison. It's horrible.
Now, what if he got invited to someone else's garrison who had Harrison Jones?
Oh, I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look in the group finder thing. That's just become a cesspool of people searching for. People have literally started turning the group finder into old AOL chat rooms and asking ASL, and I'm like, no, God bless it. This is why we can't have nice things. When you ask why Blizzard can't create like this brand new system, it's because they're trying to create a system to like filter out the morons on Group Finder.
Yeah.
We all need to group up so we can make out and stuff. That's what we're gonna do.
But only if you live near me.
ASL for people in the northern Indiana area. I have a truck.
Would you like some sweet tea?
Oh, Ben, you had to mention sweet tea. Don't do that.
Don't reply to that guy with the truck.
No, definitely not.
If they have a truck, just stop.
Or a van.
Or if someone is advertising Peeps in non-Peep season, don't accept the Peeps.
We are out of Peep season, so anybody offering you Peeps right now, it's a trap.
Yeah.
It really is.
Very much so.
Don't accept it.
So, Ceraphus, what else have you been up to other than hanging out with us and having me shatter your hopes and dreams?
Well, my hopes and dreams have been shattered. Other than that, work and podcasting and getting Calm Before the Storm and World of Podcasts on Kickstarter and getting the planning for that going and rolling. And I'm getting pulled in like all different directions on it lately, and it's fun and exciting and stressful, and we still have like 7 months, right? 7 months before it actually happens. Maybe
Yep.
6.5.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's exciting, and hopefully everyone who's going out to BlizzCon is going to show up again this year. That was pretty cool. And Ben, yes, you, even though the tournament thing, you still can participate. I want to make that. I'm going on the record.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Now, were you able to get a BlizzCon ticket?
Actually, I am not getting a BlizzCon ticket this year. And the reason being is because I spent most of my time last year, after having a BlizzCon ticket, mostly outside the convention hall talking to people.
Gotcha.
I sat through the introductory ceremony and one other panel, and then maybe was in 2 hours of lines for playing Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was it. Most of the other time, like someone's like, "Hey, I want to meet you. Let's hang out." I'm outside by the food trucks, and I'm like, "All right, I'll be right out." And next thing you know, I'm out there for like a couple hours, and then like I wind up meeting back up with Zia, who's my co-host on the Sundering, and then she's like, "Oh, I was gonna go talk to Mick from the starting zone," and then like I wander up there, and Mick's like, "Why is this guy here?" I want to talk to her, and then it just got awkward, and so then I didn't want to go into the convention hall from there. I was like, I'm just gonna go back out by the food trucks and get like another bacon cheeseburger, and so I actually made the conscious decision not to get a ticket this year.
Okay.
And like, but I'm still going out there. I already have my plane flight. I already got my hotel. I just want to go out there and hang out with people, and I think that's where where I had the most fun last year. So. I mean, I've gone for like past 5 years, so I can miss 1 year going in the hall. I will get the virtual ticket. I will get the virtual.
Are you gonna opt in for the goodie bag as well?
Oh, of course. I want, especially if they got another Funko Pop again. I'm like, I have a problem. I'm with you. I have 6 on my desk in front of me right now, and. It's not good. It's not a good situation.
I've got about 10 right in front of me, so I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I have
more up on the shelf that's like over here, but that requires me to get up and like I'll just be like holding them all like my children, and I'll be just weird and awkward. So I'm just gonna pass on that.
As long as you don't try to like feed them or something, I think you're okay.
What if I try and put a bacon bandage on one?
That's fine if it's hurt. Makes sense.
All right.
This conversation has gone to a weird place.
Because I got the Lich King here, and he may have been fighting with Murloc, and now this Murloc is dead, and has now become this Murloc. So I create like all these little like stories, and it's. I may need help myself.
Gotcha.
There's a whole narrative
Perfect.
happening right there by your desk.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's happened.
So, John, how about you? What have you been up to?
Hey Ben.
Hey, John.
How are you?
Good.
First.
some kind.
I've been playing some video games. Oddly enough, none of those video games are World of Warcraft. But a lot of them are Blizzard games, so that gets me like half credit on the question, right?
Well, that's part of the out of WoW. So yeah, I guess that works.
I've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm, which is a pretty good game.
I know.
I've been playing a lot of Diablo, which is a pretty good game. Shut up, Ben. I saw that face twitch, and you are a bad person for not liking Diablo.
Look, it's not that I don't like Diablo. It's I played it. I played the story once, and I had fun with it, and now I'm done.
Yeah, but now it's different.
I know. That's fine.
It's different.
Good for
awesome.
you.
Are you playing it on the computer or on the console?
I'm playing it on the computer because I want to do the season thing. I really wish seasons would come to the console because I really like the way the feel of the console version is, as far as the direct control over the character instead of just clicking everywhere. But yeah, I like the season rewards stuff. So I rolled a barbarian for this season, and been doing that, and that's been a lot of fun. And I also have been playing the new Mortal Kombat game.
Oh, I figured you'd pick it up.
I did. And
do you have two controllers?
No, I only have one controller.
Damn it.
You need to just get a PS4 and then the problem's solved.
Oh yeah, because that's easy to do.
Yeah, just get a PS4. That's way easier than me getting an extra controller.
I'll just buy an extra controller and just walk over and sing.
Well, we'll just invite Blake over. He's got, I think, multiple controllers. He's at least got one, so
okay.
We'll just do that. And
Cool.
then we'll all have, we'll all kill each other. It'll be
have a
fun.
Mortal Monday.
Yeah, it'll be good stuff. That game's good. I don't know if I liked the story mode, so I've completed the story, which it's weird to talk about, like, oh, what a cool story in a fighting game, but that's what the new Mortal Kombat was kind of all about. This one's got a decent story, but it's not nearly as good. And it's also, oddly enough, for Mortal Kombat, which is known for being gruesome and kill everybody and all that, it's got kind of an oddly heartwarming, like, action romp type twist to the story, because it's involving family members of them, so there's, like, dad and daughter bonding in the story, and, like, just weird things you wouldn't expect in a Mortal Kombat game.
I feel like family time is not something that belongs in a Mortal Kombat game.
No, and I will tell you that perhaps the weirdest thing about the new Mortal Kombat is them adding the kids to cast members that are then in the game makes fatalities really weird.
Hey,
because
Dad.
I saw Jax rip the upper half of his daughter's head off and put a cigar out on her tongue. And I don't think a dad should do that.
No, that's
a little
probably
extreme.
Do they have babalities? Do they bring babalities back?
No, they they dropped those.
Those were pretty epic.
They brought in brutalities, which are now kind of cool because they happen in the last moments of the game. So you meet whatever the criteria are to perform the brutality. And it might be, you need to do so much damage with such a move and then end the match with that same move. And so for your final attack, you will just kill the person in your final attack. So Scorpion does a powered up move where he throws 2 of his harpoons into the opponent, and then you can power that up again, and he shakes it, and fire travels down the chain and burns the guy. It's a regular attack you can do, but if you meet the criteria for the brutality, when he does it, their entire upper body just explodes at the end of the match. And so it's a really cool way for them to kind of change the way you play the game to try and get these things to happen, and also throw in a cool kind of extra fatality thing. The fatalities are really over the top this time too.
God,
Not in a funny way either, in a like, oh my gosh, this is almost maybe...
The only way, I don't know if you saw it, but there was, like, right before the Super Bowl, Conan O'Brien had Gronkowski from the Patriots and Marshawn Lynch from the Seahawks sit down and play Mortal Kombat. And it is probably one of the most epic videos ever. Like, they are just, like, in shock with the fatalities, and I'm gonna just go on record. Marshawn Lynch may be an idiot. I mean, it was it was pretty bad. But yeah. Anyway,
I will.
If you haven't seen that,
out. I will.
go search Conan O'Brien and like type in like Marshawn Lynch and Gronkowski Mortal Kombat, and it's an amazing video. It's like 10 minutes that is well worth your time.
I'm gonna check that out. I like the Conan O'Brien video game related stuff that he does.
Definitely.
Just in general. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Mortal Kombat. That was a whole, I don't know, games on the PS4. Well, on any next gen system, I should say. I don't want to diss just the PS4, but I've run into some weird issues. I had to download that game twice, and that was not fun. So, but that sort of thing happens. Also, their crypt in that game is now interactive. You don't just like go in and see tombstones and say, oh, I want to unlock a thing. Like you actually walk around in it. And they have an area of the crypt that's like spider tunnels. And while you are walking around, at random, giant spiders will leap up and try and attack you. And you have to hit a button. And I had to turn my sound off on the game. Because, okay, so
That's
for one thing...
a whole lot of nopes right there.
In my defense, I was playing very late at night, and sleep-deprived John with, you know, big bags under my eyes, like, with a blanket up around me, like, playing this game. Like, the first time a spider jumped up, I just, like, hit all the buttons at once and went, ah!
Well, and, John, just really quick, for anybody who doesn't know, what are your normal feelings towards spiders?
I don't like spiders. I'm not anti-spider. I just don't want them around me.
Would you say you're scared of them?
I dislike them.
Okay. To the point where you're fearful if they're around?
If there was a spider crawling towards me right now, we would stop the show and I would take care of it. Whatever you want to call that. I wouldn't go get somebody to take care of it for me. I would take care of it. But I would stop the show to do it. I couldn't just be like, oh, there's a spider crawling at me. Okay, we'll just keep talking. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, if it was over there, maybe. Like, if it was across the room, I might just be like, well, I'm going to keep my eye on that thing. But then you start to think about it, and you're like, well, he's going to hide during the show and get up to some spider business. So that would be bad. I don't know. I'm whatever you call that, Ben. Okay. Do you call that scared of spiders? Or you call it just not liking spiders?
Kind of a mix of both.
What if I didn't kill the spider? What if I caught it and put it outside?
How would you catch it, though?
In, like, between a plate and a cup or something?
Okay, so if you tried to catch it and then it went past the cup and, like, was scuttling towards you really fast,
you would hear it in your apartment. Right
okay.
Now.
So, you probably don't want to never go to YouTube and type in Australia giant spider jumping, because that will make you never want to go to Australia.
Oh yeah, I have seen some of those things. I already feel like Australia's just like
it's out to kill you.
It's like come to Australia and roll the dice on if you leave.
Here's what I've determined is that people like Lita and MacGyver are probably the toughest people on the face of the earth because they have lived and survived and have left the country and gone back. Yeah. Said, we are going to leave to tell the tale, and then we're going to go back to face more mortal danger of all the things. We have great white sharks. We have giant leaping spiders. We have Tasmanian devils. I think they have Tasmanian devils.
No, that's
right?
only on Tasmania.
Oh, okay.
And Looney Tunes.
But they have dingoes.
Okay. Dingo did eat your babies.
Yeah.
Yes. That happens.
Well, the way I look at it, okay, so they have, on one hand, Australia's trying to kill them. On the other hand, Tim Tams.
There is a balance there.
Yeah, there's a pretty good balance.
Yeah, but now we have Tim Tams here.
That's true.
Yeah, but don't they also eat, like, they eat that, like, there's like this brown, like, paste.
Vegemite.
I don't even remember. Yeah, what is, no.
I don't know.
Like, that's just, it's like a mix between vegetables and termites. I don't. It's weird.
So
don't eat Vegemite.
So John, you're walking around the crypt and spiders are jumping out at you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it. That's the end of the story. I can't deal with that. And the crappy thing is, I'm going to have to go back there on a regular basis to unlock things. And that's not fun gameplay. I thought maybe they would go away after a while. Like, maybe they would just be like, this isn't working out. We need to cut this out. He kills us every time we attack him, but they keep... There's spiders. There's a lot of spiders in that crypt, Ben. And...
Okay.
Thanks, Mortal Kombat.
Now, John, have you ever thought about the fact that every time someone kills a spider, you're helping them evolve to be, like, even stealthier?
No, I haven't considered that.
Okay, well, don't, because, I don't want to bother
spiders keep other bugs out of your apartment. They're okay. I just don't want them in my business.
Okay.
Do you guys have house centipedes out there?
No. Oh, good God, no.
Those were a shock to me when I moved to Georgia. Because they're like about yay big. And they look like silverfish. They're like silvery colored, almost translucent. And they will just crawl up your wall. And the first time it happened, it was late at night. I was in college. And I was like up all night trying to study for a final. And there it goes, crawling up the wall. Freaked the heck out of me.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I couldn't.
Yeah, those. But apparently they just eat other bugs in the house. They're completely harmless to people. But
we have scorpions, which are not like that.
No.
And not
Scorpions are there to just mess up your existence.
Yeah. They hide in things like shoes, bed sheets.
We got brown recluses and black widows, but that's really it. But those are back to spiders again.
Yeah.
And brown recluses are really weird because, like, I started reading up on it because apparently they're really prevalent in the area that I live. They have like this necromancer type venom that like it like eats away at your skin and it never comes back.
Yeah, and if you touch it, it will then eat away the skin that you touched the infected spot with.
I am like absolutely terrified of ever getting bit by a brown recluse.
Ben and I actually know somebody who was, but turned out to be okay, thankfully.
Wow.
So.
Were they Australian?
Nope.
They're made of tougher stuff. So
Australians?
Yeah.
It's tough to believe. They have to deal with drop bears in Australia. So yeah, Mortal Kombat, home of spiders and
and scorpion
and family drama and good times had by all. Ben, what have you been playing?
Believe it or not, I've been playing mostly World of Warcraft.
I don't believe it. Yeah. Prove it.
Well, I will say that I played a bunch of Mass Effect, but I'm at the part where I'm closing in on the end of the whole saga, and I'm sad, and I don't want to play it as much anymore because I don't want it to end because I love that series. So I get to go down to Rannoch and get the Quarians their homeworld. Yeah. Anyways, other than that, though, Raid. John, first of all, we've missed you, but we did actually pretty well. On Sunday, we got, let's see, Orgorger and Beastlord down, so now we're 4 of whatever, normal. Only being in there for, 3-4 weeks now, something like that? Actually, I think it's only been like 3 weeks. But we're doing pretty good. Hans and Franz is still an absolutely fun fight. I absolutely enjoy it. However, we found out last night that it is a bit of a challenge when we have about 20 to 22 people or so and only 3 healers. It's very challenging. And then we also found out that going into Gruul with the same amount of people and then another healer who is kind of undergeared is pretty challenging too. So much so that we beat Hans and Franz, but we didn't actually end up beating Gruul last night. So that's a bit of a bummer, but we're going to pick it back up on Sunday and hopefully get through them, or him, or Gorger, and then Beastlord again. So we'll see what we do.
So what you're saying is it's time to either get another healer or start secretly offing raid members.
There's a possibility of that. Possibility.
It's weird that we've reached this point. with our team. Like, when you think about where we were at the start, and we knew it was going to fall off a bit, but it's a weird dilemma to be in, to be short healers and stuff like that for our team.
In all honesty, the thing is that life just happened to hit. And it's not like, I don't want to play anymore, or I don't want to heal anymore, or something like that. Just 3 of our healers who were going to be coming. One of them had, some really big personal issues, which I totally, that's their thing, and we all understand. Another one, work called, and they had to work until like 3 a.m. Again, totally makes sense. Another one is he wasn't able to make it. Again, life happened. The fact that 3 of our healers just all of a sudden, boop, couldn't make it, kind of sucked. But you know what? We trucked on and did what we could. So yeah. It wasn't horrible. I mean, we were laughing and having a blast all night. So not a big deal.
That's what it's about.
Exactly. But other than that, I have actually been spending a lot more time on my Alliance Mage because I'm like, you know what? I should probably level this up at some point.
You said 2 things just now that I don't like.
Alliance and Mage.
I like that. I like the Alliance. I'm in the minority.
Well, let me put it this way. I like the people that I play with on the Alliance, or, the people who I know who do play Alliance, who are friends and everything. They're cool. But when it all comes down to it, it's Horde all the way. If I had to actually completely delete the Alliance, okay, whatever. But, no, I like seeing the different sides of the story and everything. And I will say that having all those heirlooms leveled up to 100 really helped with that. So she's level 100. Woohoo! And I promptly dropped about 19,000 gold on garrison stuff, which is not all that much fun. At all. So that was upgrading the garrison to level 3, adding more buildings, upgrading more buildings, and I do not like that garrison stuff, which I think I talked about the first time that I hit, 100 and had to do the same thing, kind of. So yeah, I don't think that's implemented well, but, whatever. But other than that, I haven't been doing too much, so let's go. Oh, well, I will say that I have a root canal scheduled on Monday. Woo.
That's what you're up to out of WoW. That sounds riveting.
I don't feel like that is worthy of your woo. Yeah. That's not exciting.
If we're going to talk about fears or dislikes, if you will, John, I am absolutely terrified of the dentist. So I've been dealing with some major tooth pain for a while. So if I randomly disappear in the middle of this podcast, I'm gone somewhere incapacitated in great deals of pain. I'm slowly kind of dealing with it right now, so we'll see what happens. But
well, then I will not drill you any further for questions.
Thanks. Thanks, John.
You're really grinding this out.
Yeah. Remember when we talked about a canal going through Orgrimmar, the lazy river?
Nope.
What do you think the root of the problem is that Blizzard hasn't put that in the game yet?
So let's go to the news.
Sorry, I'm kind of jawing on.
News! Seriously, John, I hate you.
Sorry, Ben, I don't mean to needle you.
Well, anyways, let's take a bite out of this news here. So, first and foremost in the news, the most important thing that has possibly come up that we need to talk about is there is a brand new teaser trailer for Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's not WoW related, but it made me say WoW, so it's as related as Mortal Kombat was, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have spiders in World of Warcraft, so it's related.
Yeah.
It's related. We're okay.
Yeah, and so it made you say, wow, so it's related? It totally works. But yeah, seriously, holy crap, I cannot wait for this movie to come out.
There's a chrome, bounty hunter or stormtrooper or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited. That was just a visual feast.
Yeah.
From the first shot, and it's just you see the desert, and then it pans and you see the ships, and it was just like, oh, this is it. Better than anything that was in the prequels.
I am worried though that Luke got a worse hand.
Because I want to know what happened to the flesh. He had flesh.
what happened? They have to trade down to our Lord Mod. Could he not make the payments on the fleshy hand? They're like, all right, no, we're gonna repo your hand, and we're gonna give you this metal one that we got from
Nintendo.
Yeah.
I bet it's a sentimental thing. I bet he does it to remember his dad. I think it's his guide to keep him on the path of the light. Because every time he looks down, he remembers the path his dad walked, and he's like, no, that's not going to be me.
Well, I mean,
he got it from the Jawas.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a bad trade. But, I mean, he did get shot in the hand, so, some of the flesh maybe just, peeled away.
Here's what happened. He went back in time for some reason, and he was trying to tell someone that they was from the future, and they didn't believe him. So he just went and, waved his hand around. This doesn't work in the audio form of the show. He peeled the skin off of his hand and waved it around. I'm pantomiming what... You see what I'm doing? I'm pantomiming what Arnold Schwarzenegger did in Terminator 2. I'm making a Terminator 2 reference right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Ben is smiling slightly.
Did he go back in time in a hot tub?
Probably. It makes the most sense that way.
It really does.
He drove a DeLorean into a hot tub and then slungshot around the sun.
Or Ben, that's a little ridiculous. Don't you think they would have just added the hot tub to the back of the DeLorean to kind of make a stretch DeLorean limo in the hot tub? That seems a little more plausible.
Okay. It makes sense.
Okay. Let's not get crazy here.
The weird thing is the DeLorean's bigger on the inside.
Yeah. Exactly. You can fit a whole, 6 or 7 people in there.
Yeah. It's strange.
So anyways, if you haven't seen that, go check it out because it's just awesome.
Yeah. There's also another trailer, but you don't need to watch it.
Oh, that was bad.
Wasn't it sad?
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was not good.
No, honestly, I'm gonna just throw it out there. DC, I don't feel like they really have any idea what they're doing.
I will say though that Batman's voice was better. He didn't talk like this, so I'm excited about that part. Unless
but it was Iron Man dressed up like a bat. Let's just be honest. That's what we had at the end of that trailer. That's what was going on.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
It was the Superman Buster suit.
Yeah. Much like the Hulkbuster, but smaller and not as cool.
And less colorful.
Yeah, and a lot.
But he is the Knight. He is the Knight.
With glowy eyes. You can't see him. Anyways, so in WoW news...
hey! And we're back to a WoW podcast.
Yeah. Patch 6.2 notes are up.
They are. Let's talk about this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's always fun when patch notes come out. We're going to have boats.
Yeah.
I'm on a boat with my flippy floppies.
Uh-huh. We're going to get a lot more use out of that song, Ben. You thought it was done after Ice Crown, but no. Now we get to play that song for a whole different reason. Do you think that we'll add it to the WoW Jukebox?
Maybe an edited version. Maybe.
I bet there's an add-on that you can use.
Oh yeah, there is. I know that Ceraphus uses one that changes all the music for all the zones, so you could totally get that set up.
There you go.
If not, you have iTunes open in a different window. Not a big deal.
See, that sounds like a lot of work, though. Now you have to download iTunes. You have to make sure it's on your playlist. You probably had to rip it off of a video on YouTube. Okay, I'm out. I'm out.
Blizzard, just do what people want. Put it in the game. It's the Blizzard optional content patch. Do you want Lonely Island I'm on a boat available to play while you're on your boat? Check yes or no in the settings.
So, John, I know that you looked over those changes and you were you read them.
I did read them.
They're a thing.
Yeah, what are you looking at with those monks?
So,
Excited to play?
Let's talk about the monks for a second. So first of all, the 30% nerf to all our abilities that were in the patch notes has now become a 5% nerf because holy hell, 30%, what is going on with that? But I will also say, so I was gonna raid with you guys this week. I was actually looking forward to it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get back into it. I'm gonna dive in. And actually, the patch notes are what killed it for me. And it sounds weird, and I understand. First of all, disclaimer, because I already can hear the tweets and emails coming. This is my experience. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. I'm not saying this is the right way to behave. This is just what went through my head. When I saw that monks were getting such a big nerf, I was like, you know what? We've been nerfed just about every patch, every, little update they do, they've nerfed. As a result, all expansion long, I felt like I haven't gotten any stronger no matter what I do with my gear. I feel like I've just baselined. I don't see a point in going to raid. I'm not gonna go. It made me not want to log into the game. And I'm not saying that monks don't need those nerfs. I'm not saying Blizzard's wrong for doing it, because they know, like, they have the numbers, they have the data. I'm not ever going to say that, oh, Blizzard's just needlessly nerfing people. But whatever caused it to where monks have needed to be nerfed all expansion long, they need to figure that out for the next expansion, because that doesn't make for a fun expansion experience for a class. Because that has been my legitimate experiences. I feel weaker than I did when I first hit level 100 right now, is the feeling I get when I play the class. And while I haven't been as active of a raider, I don't have a terrible eye level right now because Garrison's let me kind of keep up with it to some degree. And I don't feel as strong as I did when I first dinged. And I think that that is a legitimate player concern. I'm not saying it's only monks, but I feel like they need to figure out a way to where if changes need to be made, they're more frequently raising people's stats instead of lowering.
Yeah. I can see that. Ceraphus. Sorry. I'm blaming my tooth.
You!
Ceraphus.
Guy we got off the street. What do you have to say?
Yeah, did anything really pop out for you? Like anything with your class or anything?
I mean, nothing much from a Death Knight standpoint. Nothing that's going to be groundbreaking for us. I mean, I think the biggest thing was I think that they changed our anti-magic shell. That I think it's changing from absorbing 75% of magic damage to 100% for 5 seconds. So I mean, it's not a make or break change really. And I'm only a tank. I don't ever really DPS on my Death Knight anymore. So the Unholy and Frost changes seem pretty minimal right now as well.
Yeah.
But they gave our tier set gloves without fingers, which has me very upset.
Aren't your blades like cold?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're a Frost Death Knight, it just doesn't make any sense.
How can you icy touch if you can't touch? You got to touch.
No, you can go through the gloves. You can go through the gloves, John.
That sounds risky.
You're gonna have to trust me on this one.
Look, all I'm saying is this: through the glove is never as rewarding as not through the glove.
If the glove fits, you must acquit or something like that.
You must wear it and do.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the glove should fit, not where your fingers are poking out the sides of it like you're some deranged hobo.
I'd like to see Hobo Joe running around. Ooh, icy touch.
Yeah.
And
that's what he does.
And really, what's the deal with all these horns coming off of our belt? If my Death Knight tried to do a sit-up in this armor, like, that's it. I'm going to impale my stomach.
Much less sit down. Who cares
They're
about a sit-up?
excited to be Death Knights.
I don't know what's going on with belts in this expansion.
Belts have been really weird for a while, I feel like. If it wasn't back in Lich King days when they first debuted the pregnant belly belt, like
oh, you mean the wrestling
baby
belts?
simulator belt?
Yeah.
There were those. Now there's things with dangly bits and spikes that stick out way too far and
Mine's
in
got a
awkward
little
positions. There's just weird. There's
They're
weird
just
stuff.
really impractical belts.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
impractical.
Well,
Armor's weird. Although I will say this is the first time that I have seen a rogue set that actually looks good in a long time.
I would agree with that. Also, the paladin set, I'm like, oh, I need to level my paladin alt. But yes, I agree. The rogue set, I also agree that the paladin set, I'm like, I need that in my life.
And with the exception of the dress, I actually think the monk set looks really good. I think this is a good looking set of armor that we've seen so far.
I mean the druid one looks like you're kind of homeless, but I mean
they
get to hang out
are.
with the Death Knights.
and yeah, the Death Knights look like hobos. The druids are homeless. I mean, the hunter looks like they're in like blue gear from Vanilla. I don't know what's going on there. That's nothing special. I'm sorry, hunters. Your set looks a little.
Poor hunters. I don't remember the hunter set, so I'm gonna just go along with it.
They have a little coin purse though on the front of their belt, which is nice because they can now hold their coin that they get from when people think like, hey, you need a new pair of clothes. But they have like the spikes facing in towards their head, so if they just like try and stretch, like that's it. That's a fatality right there.
I'm trying to find the hunter set. I need to see it now. Oh my gosh, they do have a little coin purse. I hadn't seen the coin purse until now. That is kind of a... I don't like the way this is set up. I'm having a hard time seeing it from the front. Okay, there we go. You know what? It's odd, but it's okay. The shoulders don't look like they belong to the set. The shoulders look like they found those and attached them. But yeah, I like the little coin purse. I think that's fine. They've got pouches. They can store various goods. It's better than just like a flat texture. I will say that.
No, I agree.
That is weird.
But yet Death Knights have spikes that just stick straight out to where if you sit down, you're getting an appendectomy immediately.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, we get boats. Boats, that was something that's obviously stuck out. We're getting a whole lot of boats. A lot of ship and naval combat stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of ships going on in this expansion or in this patch. I kind of thought that was coming in the expansion. Is when I thought we were going to be seeing boats, but turns out it's going to be this time.
I saw someone tweet out that currently on the PTR, in order to fully upgrade their shipyard using garrison resources, it cost them a little over 7,000 garrison resources. They went from full 10,000 to under 3,000.
I'm okay with that because I regularly am looking for things to waste my garrison resources on because I'm like, oh, I'm at 10,000 again. I can't complete any of these missions because I'm at the cap. What can I go buy? Okay, give me... I guess I'll retrain one of my guys. Give me some of those. All right, good. I spent about 5,000 resources. All right, I'll be back up in max in a week. Like, I'm okay with it being ridiculously expensive because I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong. I have not been spending garrison resources very much. I've been getting a lot of them.
That's fine. Yeah. So, going back to the patch notes for me, for mages, guess what? Amplify magic is going away. So,
how does that make you feel?
We're less useful in raid.
Oh wait, that's not a word. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just kind of okay. And then they're nerfing arcane a little bit. Woo. So the class that I'm already like, yay.
Yeah, but I mean, it is all in flux. Obviously, since they announced it, the monk nerf went from 30 to 5, so things can change considerably.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
More stuff is coming, but okay, let's focus on what are the things that when you look at 6.2, you say, "This is what I'm excited for that feature." They announced some dungeons, some raids, the ship stuff, a new zone which is going to probably have a new daily hub. What else did they announce? The Time Walking Heroics? Time Walker Heroics? Yeah, which we'll talk about in a minute, I guess.
Well, I will say the thing that I'm looking most for is the new pet stuff. And that, I mean, okay, granted, I've said many, many times how I'm a pet collector, love doing it and all that stuff. But for a big, huge patch like this, I don't think that should be the big thing that I'm looking forward to, considering, like, I'm also a raider. I like to actually go around and quest a whole bunch. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole ton of the rest of my sort of playstyle in this upcoming patch. So you know what? Pet battling is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to new pets, I'm looking forward to new challenges, and I'm actually really looking forward to going back to 10 and Jungle to actually see what's going on. Because, we left there, we haven't been able to go back, and who knows if it's, like, kind of the same still, or if they're rebuilding the portal, or what's going on. So I'm actually pretty excited for that.
What about you, Ceraphus? What is the thing you are most excited about?
Well, we're gonna get into time walking minutes, so I was kind of excited about it, then I was less excited about it. But I'm probably more excited about Tanan Jungle, like just a new zone to go explore. It almost like I saw something briefly. It sounded like there was essentially going to be very similar to Time of Slide, where they're gonna have rares all around the area. So I mean that could be interesting for time until someone has a mod that basically says, "Oh, this one's up! Everyone, quick, run over here!" and
then you don't get there in time.
Yeah, and you don't get there in time, and then like you're like sitting there waiting, like, "Let me know that hey, this one's up over here!" Like, don't tag it! And then you're like cursing people's name in the zone. So that will be fun. We'll get new add-ons. We'll get new people that we can yell at. It'll be fun. And then of course another raid. So it kind of is kind of pushing my guild to finish up Blackrock Foundry. Get that done so we can continue to stay a little ahead of the curve here and move right into new content when it comes out. But that's probably it. Probably the raiding and the new zone.
Yeah. How about you, John?
I don't know.
Well, I know you're a big fan of Timeless Isle. Are you looking forward to 10 and Jungle because it offers the same sort of gameplay?
I kind of hope that this has a 5.1 style progression to the story. Like, I hope there's some cool story beats that happen. I don't know that that's going to be in there, so it's weird for me to say, I'm looking forward to the story, because for all I know, it's going to be nothing, and they're not going to touch on anything. But I think by at least seeing the Tanan Jungle, we're going to get a picture of where the story's going and what's to come next. That's what I'm really excited for. I don't know if it's just I've kind of hit my Cataclysm phase of just like, get me to the end at this point, or what, but I'm curious to see where the story's going, so hopefully there's something rewarding with that in there. We're about to talk about Time Walking Dungeons, which for a very brief moment I was like, this is going to be the best thing ever. I'll be playing WoW again. This is going to be great. And then I thought more about it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this at all. So we'll talk about that next. But that's something I'm potentially very excited about.
Have you read recently, like, say, today's patch notes about the Time Walking Dungeons? Well, first of all, Time Walking Dungeons. Okay, Time Walking Dungeons are old heroics and everything that you're going to be able to scale down to go back in and actually fight it, kind of like you're at level. And the rewards from it are actually going to be upgraded pieces of gear that you can use now. So that's pretty cool. I'm actually excited about that. And John, you seem to be excited about that as well, maybe. Ceraphus?
I was excited about it, and then I read that it would be on weekends.
Wait, what?
Select weekends.
What?
Yeah. So it's not going to be every weekend. It's going to be like maybe every other weekend. Maybe we'll skip 2 weekends here. So it's going to be like from Friday at noon to Monday at noon. And so here's my dilemma. I have 2 small children. All right? So I don't know how long some of these dungeons are going to take. I looked at one of the ones that are going to test is the Black Morass. Look, I remember doing that when you were like right at the gear. that is a long. You're clearing a lot of trash, and then you gotta wait for things to spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a quick thing. So I have to basically have my group ready to go on a weekend. Get my kids both down at the same time for a nap, which is not as easy as it sounds. And for those of you with multiple children, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then I have to race back down here, get queued up, and hope that my kids stay asleep for the 1 to 1.5 hours that this may take to get done.
I would like to add that while you were saying that, remember earlier in the show when I broke your heart? Well, John's look of just like pure shock turned into another just sad look. Just
Guys,
what?
I just don't know what they're doing anymore. Like, I don't know if I've just hit a point where they're just not making a game for me anymore, and that's fine. Like, there's gonna be people, I can already hear the tweets incoming because I get it a lot. It's like, well, maybe it's just not for you. Maybe you're just playing the wrong game. Maybe I am, because I heard about the time walking dungeons, and I was like, man, that's really cool for people who are way into dungeons. Maybe it's a way for them to have a bigger pool. It's not just like, oh, you got to do the 5 that we put out this time. Like, you can run all this other stuff and have more options to do so and play the style of game that you want. I was like, that sounds pretty cool. That sounds kind of great. And then I hear something like this, and Ben can tell you, I have very strong opinions about content that only occurs within a set time period, like the Dark Moon Fair, which is the dumbest thing they've ever put in the stupid game. I hate when they say you have to log in during this small window of time if you want to participate. I don't like that. That's not how I play. That's not why I play games. I'm not interested in scheduling my life around the video game schedule. I would rather do the opposite. I think most people feel that way. Mm-hmm. So putting content that is fun to do, if you can't come up with a way to do time walking where I can opt into it when me and my friends can run, then don't put it in the game. Because the point of this content, the point of running a dungeon, especially if it's not going to be a LFD type situation, is that I go to Ben and I say, Ben, I want to do a dungeon. He says, okay, this is when I can go. And then I go and I grab a tank, and I grab another DPS, and I grab a healer from my friends, and I got all my friends, and okay, we're going to go. And we get together and we say, okay, now this is when we can go, this is when we're going to run it. That's the purpose of this content. When you add the additional gate of, yeah, but you can only do it in this time, it defeats the point of that. And it's not in the spirit of it, and it's not fun. So I think it's a really cool sounding feature that, yes, you absolutely just crushed my hopes and dreams by telling me it, because you basically, when you said it's only certain weekends, the moment you said that, you might as well have just said, it's content you will never do.
Well, John, it's only in the patch notes, in the PTR patch notes, so there's a chance that they might think, hey, you know what's a really bad idea? Making this limited.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yes, there's a chance.
But here's okay.
Look, where was
where skeptical John comes in?
John, where was, hey Ben, don't worry about those mage changes because this is just, in the patch notes. Where's that John? We need that John back.
You know what else is in the patch notes? That they're adding new dungeons, and they want people to run those dungeons, not just old dungeons. And I'm sure that's why it's limited.
Yeah.
And I get that. I don't think it's necessarily the right decision. It's not I'll tell you flat out, it's not the right decision for me. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that agree with me and say it's not the right decision for them. And we'll see how popular it is. I said challenge modes were not going to be, once we realized what they actually were, I was like, challenge modes aren't going to be popular. Blizzard says they were wildly popular. I don't believe them because I don't know anybody who did them, but that's just me. Maybe I know the wrong people.
Well, no, they were popular at the end when the rewards were going to go away.
That's true.
I'm with you. I was very interested in time walking, and when it says certain weekends, like, 'cause I can just see it now. Like, maybe I can clear out my weekend, like, once, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do some time walking this weekend. And like, nope, sorry, not this weekend. I'm like, but next weekend I got like 2 birthday parties and like some family dinner to go to, and I'm pretty sure that there's some grocery shopping that's going to take place at some point, and someone's going to get upset, and we're going to wind up going someplace else, and it's just going to be a mess. And then I'm going to miss out on time walking for the next X amount of weeks.
Yeah. I will say that in the chat room, Jane said that there will be 7 events in total, meaning, an event every weekend. I don't know, how that is compared to the notes. I'm not looking at both of them, but still that brings up the whole, it's on the weekend. So it's optimistic at best. It's really heartbreaking at worst. And then also Joe Brewer says that there are no new dungeons actually being added, just a new difficulty, which, John, that's mythic dungeons. So even harder versions. Yay!
I'm not doing the train. As a tank, I'm not doing it.
If you are way into dungeons, if that's your end game, and we have had people on the show they've said that's what they're into.
And that's great.
That's something cool for them. And I think it's cool that Blizzard is putting things into the game that speak to different play styles. Unlike last time where it was like, here's your dungeons, here's your heroics, we're done, we're not touching them again. Like, I think it's really cool that they're trying to touch these other specific play styles. Right now, 6.2 is a very robust patch, especially when compared to 6.1. I haven't found my niche within what they've announced so far. That doesn't mean it isn't there. Last expansion, 5.1, was my favorite. Leading up to 5.1, I was saying the same thing. I was saying there's nothing in this patch I care about. I'm not excited about it at all. Ended up being my favorite patch of the expansion. That could very easily happen with this one too. We just don't know. But as of right now, you just took away the one thing I was excited about.
Well, one thing I'm actually curious about, with the mythic dungeons, is this... And so I made a big deal about them being harder and everything. Yeah, as we gear up the heroics, they're a piece of cake now. Understood. But, and Blizzard said that challenge modes are really popular. It's weird to me that there's mythic dungeons now, and they're on a weekly lockout. So it's like a little mini raid, which I think this is actually a really good idea. It's something that you can pull a couple of people together for and go at it, get some gear and stuff like that. It makes sense. You have however many dungeons that there are per week as a chance to get gear, as opposed to, okay, I'm in raid, we down 3 bosses. Whereas, hey, I did 4 different mythic dungeons and look at this gear that I got, or something like that. But it's surprising to me the differences that they have between challenge modes and mythic, because with mythic it's harder, you get gear from it and everything. Challenge modes, they're time based and your gear is static. So it's, I don't know, like, do you kind of see where I'm going here? How they're very similar in a sense, like, unless Blizzard's actually changing the actual mechanics of the fights, mythic dungeons are just more damage being thrown out, more heals being thrown out, things like that, versus, something that's, time-based as a different challenge or mechanic-based.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically doing like a Torment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's just increasing health and damage, really. Yeah. To put in Diablo terms.
Except missing the fun, fast-paced action that is Diablo. I was thinking about this. I'm going to throw out an idea to both of you and to the listeners. This can be your, hey, tweet at us, send us emails, and tell me what your thoughts are. I was thinking about dungeons a lot just now. Now. Actually, since I saw the time walking dungeons, I've been thinking about it too. And I was thinking, like, everybody kind of has their era where they're like, oh, the dungeons from that period were really cool. But I think everybody can agree that, like, running the same 5 dungeons is not as much fun as, say, running a wider variety. Like, if you could do looking for dungeon and you could get any dungeon that was in the game ever, like, I feel like that would be more appealing and more interesting than you can get any of the dungeons from our current list. But I think it's a big demand to ask Blizzard and say, hey, we want to run this content. You should let us run all the dungeons. You need to come up with current loot tables for all the dungeons in the entire game. That's a big task. So what if they went back to, and I know we have a lot of currency systems, but some sort of currency that you get for completing dungeons. And
like Apexis crystals?
Like Apexis crystals, but something different, like super Apexis crystals or
Suplexus crystals.
Suplexus crystals. I like that a lot. Whatever they want to call it, a new currency. You earn this by spiders. Great. You earn this by completing dungeons, and you can queue into any dungeon that you want, and it will scale either you down or it up, whatever Blizzard decides they want to do. Same technology they're using with the time walking. And you go through and it's challenging and all of that, and you get currency at the end, and that's where you buy your gear, essentially. So you can grind. You're not going to get drops in the dungeon itself, but you will be getting progression towards gear, so you still are getting a reward for doing it. There's still a reason to go through and do it, but you get a wider variety.
I personally am for that. I've always been for that because I hate the RNG of just like the loot, and I'd like to have more control over it. I would say that your system works if I would say that you, after running one dungeon, you have at least enough to get at least one item. If you clear one dungeon, is go out and buy at least one item.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be like a weapon. Maybe you have to run 2 dungeons in order to have enough to get a weapon or something. But you have enough to at least get like bracers. Of all things, bracers. At least then you feel like, well, I'm at least going to be able to get bracers after all this.
Right.
Or maybe I'm at least going to be able to get a belt out of doing one of these dungeons.
Yeah, no, I see where you're going with that. John, it's interesting. It's an interesting idea. I don't know. I like the idea of potential loot drops. I like that more than working your way towards something guaranteed. But I tend to be more lucky when it comes to loot and everything like that than a lot of my friends. John, you're one of them. And I don't know. I maybe this is where my gambling loot driven addiction goes comparative to like Diablo or something, where in WoW I'm working towards something, I have a really good chance of getting some gear, or if I don't, okay, I'll just move on to the next thing. Whereas with Diablo, loot's dropping everywhere, and I can't use even a quarter of it or something. I'm not looking for something guaranteed because I know eventually something will drop. And I don't know, the best thing that I could relate it to is, John, do you remember back when we were in Burning Crusade, we were raiding Tempest Keep. We were fighting the Void Reaver. And I had enough DKP for every piece of gear to drop off of every single boss because my stupid tier shoulders didn't drop until the last night that we ran Tempest Keep. The absolute last night, we're like, okay, let's go in here. And then 3 of those tokens drop, and I was the only one to buy one.
Yeah.
That's the only time that I've really been, screaming for a piece of gear. Everything else, it's felt, like a really good flow for me. So...
Well, what if they treated it like loot drop? So, like, what if instead of every boss you get X number of whatever currency it is? What if you down a boss, you get a token to be redeemed to get a piece of gear? Because my thought process is, from a design perspective, they can't go through and work on every piece of gear that's in a dungeon ever. But they could assign, like, if you're in one of the scaled ones, maybe it can drop a token for whatever thing. Okay. And then still have maybe a vendor that has special items that you can then buy. So maybe like, okay, well, I got 5 of these, whatevers. I can go buy a horse now. So I'm gonna go buy a horse now.
Okay, well,
so we're taking loot tokens to trade in for a piece of loot, or 5 of them for a horse.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you want something other than a horse? Do you want a spider?
I honestly really want a giant pig mount. for
You
reasons.
should play Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
I do.
You know, in all honesty, in all honesty, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. In honesty, that is something that I'm good with, you know, and they already do that kind of with something called gold and gear. So when you're going through and killing bosses, you get a little bit of gold, and you can apply that
a little
bit. You can apply that towards almost anything in the game. Almost anything in the game. So having a specific currency for like a specific like dungeon set or something like that, it makes sense. It can work. But the fact that, you know, like in these time walking dungeons and everything like that, if they opened it to all dungeons, having little pieces drop, like let's say, you know what? 2 seconds. We're gonna just jump right into the round table because this totally matches. So, shut it!
Round table.
And round table. Blah blah blah. MMO mechanics. Okay. So, okay. Here's the thing. In other games, you know, there's a lot of different mechanics and everything that WoW has started to really, you know, heavily borrow from. This is something from, if I remember correctly, like Rift, where, like, let's say, John, you're just starting out, you're level 15 and you want to go into a dungeon. I'm level 100, I want to go into a dungeon with you so I can scale myself down to that level. And I know that Final Fantasy XIV has that as well. Now, something like you're kind of talking about, John, is if, you know, like a I don't know, gear piece of some sort were to drop, obviously I can't use the level 15 thing because, you know, it's crap to me. But if some sort of token were to drop in its place so that I can actually go and get something for myself, it kind of works better that way. So, anyways, so to tie this all in, MMO mechanics and everything like that, John, I like where you're going with this. Do you have anything else to add to that whole gear dropping mentality?
I mean, I just, to me, I look at it and I think, okay, we've got to, you know, what are ways to incentivize? Because incentive is the driving force behind everything we do in WoW. Mm-hmm. We talked about it a little bit last week. We got a lot of feedback about it. I think it was Spanky Hunter saying, like, look, the reason we do anything in WoW is loot. And to a degree, he's absolutely right. Like, you want to get something. If someone's like, hey, you can run this, I think most people would be like, okay, why? Why am I running it? What am I getting from it? Am I getting loot? Am I getting a story? What am I getting from it? Like, that would be the next question. So I think the weird thing about WoW is they reward and encourage you to participate in different activities in completely different, counter to one another ways. You look at Battlegrounds. Same battlegrounds you've been running all the time. They haven't really changed. Occasionally they'll add a couple new ones, but you can always pull from the same pool of battlegrounds, and you can still run the same ones that you really, really like. But then you go over to dungeons. No, you have to run the ones that are relevant at the time. And there's no upscaling, so you eventually will outgear it, and eventually it won't really be worth doing, which now they're combating a little bit with the announcement of Mythic difficulty, but even then, that's a static level that you're going to get up to. And then rating where it is, you know, we're going to constantly support this, it's going to be a progression, you're going to go from this to this to this to this, and that's the end of the game. And I'm trying to think of what are interesting ways that Blizzard can reward and keep the various types of content that they have fresh and engaging kind of across the board, rather than have some that, you know, fall off. And I feel like Dungeons is one of the big ones that just kind of eventually falls off. People say, okay, I did the Dungeons. You know, you do all the inquests, essentially. Like, okay, I did all the inquests. Now I guess I'm done running Dungeons forever. And your Legendary, I guess, would also be a part of that. So I don't know. What do you what do you think? What is there?
Of a question.
What are good ways to make dungeons relevant again, do you think? We'll start there.
Ceraphus, any ideas off the top of your head, or you need a minute to digest?
So I mean, I think that they need to make all dungeons available at max level. And what I mean by that is instead of the time walking where it scales you down, and I understand that the technology to scale an individual down to what the old dungeons were seems easier. I feel that scaling the dungeon up to our level is better. And the reason being is because at this level, you are now used to a certain level of power that you've run through. You've killed mobs. You're expecting your hits to do so much. You're expecting I know I can take that hit. But all of a sudden, if you're scaling your character down and you walk into an older dungeon, I'm not. I mean, unless someone has a quick and easy chart to show me, hey, you used to be able to absorb 100,000 damage when you pop this cooldown. Now, technically, with your stats, you're really only going to be able to take about 15,000.
Yeah.
So I don't. That's the one part of time walking that I don't like. I mean, I'd probably be able to get used to it after I run a little bit, but it would feel weird. And Blizzard has mentioned something very similar in the past to this, where that scaling things up instead of reducing the players' abilities felt better because players got comfortable with where their players were behaving. So I'm also kind of curious how the time walking works. I also really, really like the idea of the tokens dropping, giving someone an incentive to be able to go and say, all right, I got this token, now I'm going to go and see if I can buy anything. And then, you know what, if the token that drops is for a piece of gear, let's say that you already have, and you're like, have a mechanic where you could take that token, trade it in, and get half of another token, or you can trade in 2 of these armor tokens and get a different type of token for a different piece of gear.
Yeah.
Something. You need to have some mechanic. I think that is because, as you guys said earlier, having more options is better, and just limiting it to the current expansions dungeons is kind of lame. So time walking in general, the idea behind it is good. I'm just not sure about the scaling down versus the scaling up philosophy.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong on this, but I think one of the reasons why they actually stopped the the item squish and number squish and stuff was partly that reason, is because we had gotten up to a point where we were just completely overpowered. We're critting for a million, million and a half or something like that, and then all of a sudden just the number shock going completely down to I can do 12,000 DPS. What happened? I mean, personally for me, it didn't really change too much of, how I was playing, because I'm like, well, I'm still killing mobs, whatever, I'm not that focused. But I know that there are a lot of people out there who take all of those numbers with great pride, Like you said, I can, pull up shield wall, and I know it's going to absorb this much damage and everything like that. So scaling up, to me, I totally agree with you. I think that makes a lot more sense. Plus, it, even though, say, I might be going back to Hellfire Ramparts, I'm still the same epic, badass that I am, dealing out the same amount of damage, taking it at, just as much as I'm used to. So it works. It makes sense to me. And if they're able to, scale gear with heirlooms, if they're able to scale bosses with, depending on how many people there are and everything, I would only assume that they'd be able to scale up as well as down. But I mean, I don't know how that technology works. So, yeah, I don't know if it is doable, but to me, I think you're right. That is a much more attractive prospect than, okay, let's scale everything back down. Hey, pretend we're level 20. Woohoo!
I think a really important question to always ask, too, because we talk about this sort of stuff a lot. We like to... we are a show that is critical of the things that are in the game, good and bad. We will critique them, but we also like to throw out ideas of what we would like to see. But I think one of the questions that maybe we don't ask enough, and I'll ask as part of this, if they made changes like this, would you play it? Would you be into it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool. We're in.
If they were able to scale every single dungeon up to the max level of whatever we're at, and open them all up, and have viable gear as rewards in some fashion, I would be all about running dungeons a lot more than I currently do.
I agree. You're right. You have so much more variety and everything. And you know what, John, before we started, going really deep into this discussion, I thought you were going to ask us, which dungeon set or dungeons we would want to do more. And I'll tell you, the final ones in Wrath of the Lich King, I had a blast with. Surprisingly, the final ones in Cataclysm, I had a blast with. Those were a lot of fun too. Some of the other Lich King ones were okay. I honestly don't know how much of the Cataclysm ones I did. Oops. But
yeah, I skipped most of the Cataclysm ones.
I'm actually trying to think of the Cataclysm ones, and I'm having a tough time.
There's that water one. I did that one.
Oh, the water one. Yeah, did that.
There was the one where you had to fly around on a dragon. That was dumb.
Which one was that one?
Well, you had to take out trash. That was the fly over
Grim
the
Batal.
trash and take out as much trash as you can because the trash is going to be awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah, that was a bad one because trash.
Yeah, I kept getting that one, and that's why I gave up on dungeons. Ugh, that was the worst dungeon.
They could not scale up that one Wrath of the Lich King one where the eye, where you had to go vertically on the dragons. They could not scale that one. They could just leave that one out.
Yeah,
because that one.
Sorry.
That was just not intuitive to people. That one was just bad. That was badly designed, and unless you had a group of people who specifically knew exactly how to do it, like it was just a pain. Especially in looking for group, that was bad.
Yeah,
I think the core idea here should be content that is more challenging than going in and face rolling it, obviously, but is not maybe as hard as it was the very first time that you were in there. Like, maybe look at tuning it towards what the player might experience either mid or late expansion. Because to me, when I think about dungeons, like, if I think about my ideal, what I would love to get in and do in a social atmosphere for WoW, because I do a lot of solo stuff in WoW. And, everybody's like, oh, we want to put the massively multiplayer back in the MMO. If I think about what I would like to get in and do, is I would love to get into WoW and just be like, hey, I'm going to run this thing. Who wants to go? Let's either queue up for it or whatever. And I'd love for us to be able to, get in through a LFD type tool where it's not like, all right, guys, let's all fly over to Scarlet Monastery. I'd like to be able to teleport there. And I would love to get in and just grab a couple friends and say, oh, we're going to run a dungeon real quick, and know that that's going to progress my current end game as well. And that maybe I'm going to go back and maybe it's going to be very nostalgic. Maybe I'm going to be doing some Wrath of the Lich King stuff. Maybe I'm going to be doing some vanilla stuff. But maybe I'm going to do some new stuff too. Who knows? Or maybe we know and we pick. I don't know. But I think that feels good. That sounds good. And if they could come up with a way to do it as like flex dungeons, that would be super cool too. Like, oh crap, only 3 of my friends want to run dungeons right now. Guess what? We can do that. There is a way to do that. I don't know how the balancing and all that would work. That might be asking for too much. But I think the more options you have to get into the game and say, who's on my friends list right now? Okay, you, and you, let's go. And okay, that's not enough people for anything that's in the game right now. So I think anything that can adjust to that amount of people, I think is a good thing. If you can just say, hey, we're going to take the 4 of us and we're going to go do something fun in the game. That's what their goal should be on all content, not just dungeons. And they've kind of gotten there with raids. Obviously with raids, there is a commitment of you expect there to be a certain amount of people. It's not like one person or 3 people should be like, we should go raiding right now. But I think if they can find a way to include all those people, that would be my perfect situation and way to want to get in and do something social in the game.
As long as you have the option to still go back and just face roll solo it. I'm okay with that, because that's one of the things that, you know, keeps me in game is like I found out that I can solo Dragon Soul, which is cool. Spine takes a little bit of doing because you're constantly running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But, you know, figuring that out, doing it and everything, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. To take that away from me, I'd be bummed. Of course, that's a raid, but you know what I mean. If I want to go through, like, you know, Forge of Souls and all those things to try and get the hilt to, you know, run that quest again, because it is a really cool quest, I want to be able to go in and try and take care of that. But no, if I'm online, I see that you're online, I see that you're online, and, you know, it's like, hey, let's pull a 5-man together, let's see what happens, just roll the dice. And then all of a sudden, Wailing Caverns pops up, it's going to be an adventure. I haven't been in there in years.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, trying to figure it out mechanically with, you know, current specs and builds and everything. I mean, it's going to be something different and new, and I really like this idea if they're able to totally, you know... Sorry, the cat looking at the camera, she was, like, really intense, just like... anyways, so being able to...
It freaks me out. Okay. I'm not going to lie.
Good, just making sure. But yeah, you saw her face. She was like, what are you doing? Anyways, but, you know, being able to go in there and, you know, maybe try to work on strategies, you know, after mages get Amplify Magic taken away. Let's see what happens, you know? Something along those lines. I'd play the heck out of that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's it. No. Something else that I was actually kind of thinking about, because, you know, I did come up with this topic today, like 2 hours before the show started, and was trying to figure something out. Something that I think also Rift does have is, I think you can go in solo into raids and kind of play through that content by yourself, if I remember correctly. No, I haven't actually played Rift, especially at that higher level. Maybe it was Guild Wars 2. I don't remember. But being able to experience the content is something that I know that we've had a discussion on this show many times, and it pops up on every show at some point. So I know that, Ceraphus, you've at least talked about it at once in your life. But I like the idea of being able to see current content on your own if you're able to. So seeing something scaled down to that, I think would actually be, you know, a great bonus to the game. And it might actually end our whole, you know, LFR debate as well. Who knows? Because people would actually be able to see what's going on.
But, all right, so let me ask you this. If you're proposing something like that, where basically someone could just solo the entire game, not interact with anybody, to get the full story, what are they going to get, like, the same gear as someone running through LFR?
No.
Are you just proposing, like, you're just going to go in there, you're just going to see the story, you're not going to get anything?
Yep. I mean, maybe something at the very end.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, like a piece of gear or a token or, you know, something significant just to say, like, hey, I saw this stuff. As opposed to, you know, you're not going to go in there and get, like, tier sets and, you know, pieces of gear off of every boss or something like that. But just a way to experience the content, because, you know, one of the big issues that came up with our, you know, big debate with LFR, with, you know, are they raiding? Do they deserve stuff? Everything like that. A lot of people mentioned that they want to see the story content. And if this is a way to see that, I mean, just once. Like, I would love to go through all of BlackRock Foundry, see the story stuff, so that I know what goes on, I know what happens, and then I'll still go in there with my raid team each week, you know, and work on progression, killing bosses and everything like that. But at least I've experienced the content, so I'm not going to have to worry if, like, say, we don't finish, but we have to move on to Hellfire Citadel.
You know what I'd like to see with regards to that? I would like to see a raid questline / story where you don't play through the raid itself, but there is maybe like a solo scenario that you can do that tells a side story of the raid. And then LFR, as it, you know, roughly is now, would be how you could see the raid without having to do the raid. Okay. But, so for example, let's take Siege of Orgrimmar, because I feel like we were in there for a year. Everybody has a frame of reference for that, right? What if you got a quest that, you know, you're not in the front lines storming the gates, but maybe in that common area, you have a quest to set certain people free or to stop certain other lieutenants of Garrosh's that were going to go and do something. So you're kind of playing a role in the story, and maybe you even see people like fighting the shamans on the side. You're not doing that. You're kind of doing your own side story, and maybe the reward ultimately for it is maybe a piece of gear, like the equivalent of what you get from your garrison now. Like, here's a lockbox. It's going to contain a piece of gear. Make it to where it's not repeatable, so they're just going to get one. Maybe it's random, and maybe give them a title or an achievement or something like that for going through it and seeing it, and have it be a cool piece of story-focused content. And then it also takes a little bit less of the, well, we have to include the story in the raid and have this really long cutscene that you're going to hear 800 times where someone talks about, you know, they remember you from the mountains and all that, and put it in this single-player solo scenario story, but it's not the raid itself. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see something cool like that.
Okay. Ceraphus, you're looking at us like...
I'm kind of torn because one of the big things that most people, I mean, who've listened to me is, I want to have Blizzard make it feel like guilds are important, and that while you can do things solo, that's fine. I want there to be like some meaning behind getting together in a group and going. And if we just allow like every single piece of content to just be completely digestible, and the rewards be equal to that of being in a group, and I feel like they've done a pretty good balance this time around, with saying, look, we're not going to give you tier gear. Like, you're just not going to get your tier sets in LFR. I felt that was a really good decision on their part, but it still allowed everyone to see the content. And let's be honest, LFR is pretty much face roll for the most part. I'll say for the most part, because there's always a chance that you decide to log in on a Monday and say, oh, I want to run LFR. And then it's just bad. That's a bad decision on your part. You've made poor life decisions, and that is on your head. But no, I don't want to see them do anything where it says, you know what, you don't have to be in a guild, because I feel like they've done enough of that.
Okay.
I want them to make it feel like guilds are important, that being in a guild is an epic experience, and I feel that other games have done a pretty good job of creating that. And I feel that Warcraft is just like, well, everyone's just kind of in a guild anyway, so we don't have to make it special. And I feel that's kind of the wrong mentality, because, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here outside of like seeing content, but that the fact is, you know, I can almost tell you that people play this game, when you ask them why they're playing this game, more times than not, they're going to say, I play it because of the people who I'm playing with. Mm-hmm. And if you're developing an infrastructure where you want people to get together in groups and guilds and do stuff together and work on content together, you're forming bonds. People are forming friendships and stuff that's going to last longer than just being able to solo content, and it's going to make them want to play more. And when they play more, guess what? They're going to pay for their subscriptions longer. And when they're paying for their subscriptions longer, Blizzard can keep making content. And when Blizzard keep making content, you know, everyone kind of wins. So that's the kind of way I see it. There's no incentive to someone being able to solo through all the content in like a couple months, solo through like the raid story, and be done with it like before like a guild can maybe clear it in 3 months, and they could go in and just like see the entire story in like a day and say, well, I've seen all the story for this patch. I'm going to put my subscription on hold, and I'll wait for the next content patch. I feel from a business standpoint and from a longevity of the game and building community, that's the wrong way to go.
Okay, well, what about John's solution where you see some of the side content, how it's not exactly experiencing the entire, you know, raid format and everything through that?
I would like to see detailed Visio diagrams and PowerPoint presentations before I will accept John's solution.
I'm going to real quick shoot my own suggestion in the foot and say that was my answer to if they were going to put some sort of solo rating content in the game, and that was a big if. I don't necessarily think that's a thing that should be in there. I kind of, like I said earlier, I feel like once you're at the point where you're saying I want to raid, you're kind of at a point where you're saying I want to participate in an activity that has other people in it. And so if you're the kind of person that's saying, I really want to raid, but I don't want to be around other people, you're kind of picking the wrong focus of the game at that point to really play off of. But I think in a world where somebody asks me, hey, what do you think or what is a way that we could do a solo bit of content for raiding, I think that's about the best solution I can come up with.
Gotcha.
I mean, honestly, what Blizzard really needs to, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, people will be like, well, I don't like the guilds on my server, but I don't want to pay to transfer, so I guess I'm just, I mean, honestly, what Blizzard should do is drastically reduce the price of character transfers, or do even more extensive guild merging. If people absolutely, I mean, they've done it to a certain extent that if you're friends with someone, you can still raid with them. I mean, I pulled a friend from another server on Thursday night, and he raided with us. Because his guild kind of like dissolved, and he was like, I really don't have the money to transfer right now, but I want to raid. So I said, well, come with us, and he didn't transfer. So I feel like Blizzard needs to keep making scenarios for that and making it easier for people to find the right guild for them. I feel that is probably one of the biggest issues. I always hear people say, well, all the guilds stink. Well, is that really true, or have you just not found the right one, or there's not enough tools in the game for you to find the right guild for you? I mean, because I know that like some of the easy solutions is like, oh, come to Convert to Raid or come to AIE. We got tons of people. You'll find whatever you're looking for. And maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe people kind of will feel lost in such a large group. Maybe they want something smaller, and that's fine. Some people want different things, but there's no real. Let's face it. The Guild Finder tool in game is horrendous. It doesn't give you the necessary information that you may want to ask. There's no way to go back and forth with someone who applied to be able to ask them questions. And I feel that Blizzard could definitely beef that up to allow people to find groups better, so that way people can experience raiding content on a schedule that works for them. Because I can almost guarantee that anyone who says, well, I have a very specific schedule and I can't find a guild that raids during the time I guarantee you could if there are better tools in game.
Yeah, and what's really sad is that they just really want to do those time-walking dungeons, but they can't on the weekends.
But let's run with...
subject. It's sore subject, then.
Let's run with this idea here, because I think this is an interesting thing, and I think we can tie it into a kind of our earlier ideas.
Well, before you do that really quick,
way.
Let me just say really quick that the only reason that I brought up the solo rating is just as a way for some people who can't get into LFR, who can't get into raiding, to see the content. I'm not saying that that's exactly what I want to do, because I enjoy raiding. I enjoy raiding with my team. But I like the idea that anyone who wants to be able to see the content has options, and I understand LFR is that option right now. So just wanted to throw that out there. Anyways, sorry, John.
Okay, so let's say that we're in a world where if you want to run old dungeons, we're going with that whole currency system thing, or tokens, whatever you want to call it. Let's say we're in a world where that exists. Now let's take it one step further. Let's say that Blizzard found a way for it to be, and I know, Ceraphus, you're not keen on scaling down, but let's say, what if when they scaled down, you would also potentially be running with people who were running that content at that level? Now what you have is because I'll tell you my personal problem that I've run into with guilds. I go for the easy answer. I'm in AIE for Horde. If I go to Alliance, I'm going to join Convert to Raid. I like mega guilds, but like you said, that's not for everybody. So it kind of becomes almost like a dating dilemma. How do we meet people in the World of Warcraft? You could go to an inn, and you're going to get invited to all the wrong kind of guilds if you go there.
Unless that's what you're into.
Unless that's what you're into, then that's fine.
I mean, if you were into something very specific in an inn, go to Moonguard, but enter at your own risk. Enter at your own risk.
So But if we had a solution where these higher level, max level players are in a position where they might be doing content with players that they don't know, who are fresh, and the world is still amazing and fantastic to them, you might be in a position where it's like, hey, this guy's really cool. I see he's ungilded. Maybe rather than just being one of those spam bots that sends out a guild invite to every new person that comes into the zone, maybe, hey, we ran a dungeon together. Are you interested in joining our guild? This is kind of what we're about. And it's a position where they could actually open up a dialogue to new people, because right now there's a rift. If you go in as a new player, the only place you're going to see the high-level people and the gilded people is either on their alts running around, and then maybe, or you're going to see them in town, or not until you get to high level anyway. And by that time, you're missing out on the perks that are still left for guild rewards. And, you've probably been invited so many times that you finally just hit accept to one of the spam bots just to be like, I just don't want any more invites. I'm just sick of them. Or you turned them off.
Well,
so I just feel like if there are ways for level 100 or whatever level it is to interact with lobby characters, that's a chance for a social interaction. That's a chance for you to find out what a guild's about without having to use a finder, without someone having to go onto the forums or go to guild websites and things like that. And I think that's a decent way to expand a recruiting tool as well.
So I will counter yours with, why would you scale down 4 people for one person when you can scale one person up to the other 4 people? And I believe City of Heroes used to do this with their sidekick feature, where they would scale up the person to the max level player. So if you have all dungeons available at max level, if you scaled that one person up and someone's like, oh, you guys are going to go run a dungeon, I'd really have to go. And you're like, well, come with us. Scales them up, you go run it, and then whatever token or whatnot they get is usable for gear at their actual level. It's good for their level.
I think that sounds fine.
Yeah. Now
that sounds good to me.
Look at that compromise. Look at that.
But the big flaw in John's plan, and I'm sorry to point it out, is LFD. That's the biggest flaw that there is, because when you are running those dungeons and everything like that, how are you going to get there? People just queue for everything now. When you do run across a random person, who knows if they're going to be on your realm? Who knows where they even exist? And because of that, it's become so antisocial that, most of the time, the only things that are said in, a dungeon group are, hey, idiot, go over there, or why didn't you heal me? Versus hi, and actually talking, communicating, and recruiting. I remember before LFD, we brought some great people into our guild that we met just randomly from, running stuff. You have to sit outside of the entrance and, talk and trade, or, something along those lines. I've had people try to recruit me into their guild. I tried to recruit other people into my guild. It's one of those things where by, making the whole scope of World of Warcraft bigger to play with more and more people, it's become less social in that aspect. And, finding a good quality guild is a lot harder, like Ceraphus was saying.
I have a potential answer to your question.
Okay.
And I only say potential in the form of, anything that gets added to World of Warcraft, you never know how it's going to pan out. But my thought on it is, if we are going to open up all of the dungeons to everyone at any time, at any level, if that is the plan and that is what we are going to do, and we are going to have them all pull from all players that are on at a single time within that realm, you no longer need it to pull from cross realms. The player base has gone up. The reason we have cross realms is because the player base is smaller. You're only pulling from certain levels within all of that. If everybody can queue at the same time, if it's a queue for your entire realm at any level of the game, you can pull anybody you want. Or you don't have to do the cross realm thing. And then you go back to the days of it being within your own realm.
So how fast will the DPS queues go? That's all I'm really concerned about.
Lightning fast, because this is a hypothetical scenario. Fastest they've ever been. faster even. I don't know. It's tricky. If the reward's good enough and if people are into it enough, in theory, it shouldn't be an issue. If it's not rewarding enough, if they don't support it, if it takes 1 week and then you have everything you could possibly ever want out of it and you're done and moved on, it's probably not going to go super, super well. But it's an alternative to leveling up because lower level players would get experience from it. It's an alternative way to gear up. I think there would be a lot of people that would adopt it as one of their methods for leveling. You know, you get to maybe an expansion you're not fond of. Maybe I don't want to do Burning Crusade again. All right, well, I'll dungeon level through that whole thing, and that'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. But, well, not even but. On top of that, too, if it's someone who is lower level and, you know, they get pulled in, like say I'm level 20 and I get pulled into the end of time dungeon. First of all, I am, you know, boosted greatly so by 80 levels. When I see how much power I can do at that, that's just going to entice me to want to play even more as well. I mean, if I can, you know, throw out these numbers in this when I'm 100, holy crap, I want to get to 100. So it's just enticing more play, possibly more social interaction, and I really like this idea. So Blizzard, get on it.
The only issue that you would run into is the scenario you just talked about, is if you're at level 20 and you're getting boosted all the way up to like level 100 to do a dungeon, and you're a brand new player. That is automatically giving you tons of new talents that you didn't have, and even some spells and abilities that you didn't have yet.
I'd say don't give them those.
I would say they have to do it with what they have, and the stats would have to increase accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I still think there needs to be a limit. Like, I don't think like level 1 time to queue for a dungeon. I think maybe still they have to hit a certain level first.
Like level 20 and then...
Yeah, like you get a baseline, come up with a point where it's like, okay, by this level, there is enough abilities on their hotbar that if we up the damage and up their health and all of that accordingly, theoretically they can tank these dungeons. And like I said, I don't think these need to be super hard.
Yeah.
I think that they need to be more than just face roll easy, but I think they need to be, you know, a fun thing to do. Hey, we're going to get in and run a dungeon. Like, it's the same. I'm actually kind of approaching it almost from a Diablo mentality of you don't get in because there's a chance you might die and wipe over and over again. You get in because it's fun content to do, and you know you're probably going to get through it, but you still have to play the game to do it. And I was also thinking, like, why can't they determine what a good eye level would be for each level of their game, 1 to 100, determine, hey, this is a fair eye level, and determine that and make the gear in the dungeons scalable to that eye level. So I went through and I was level 25, so anything that drops, any of the loot, is going to scale to a level, whatever the eye level is for a level 25, and it doesn't change. It's not like an heirloom. When I level up, it's not going to get better or anything like that. It's static. So it's not going to be good forever, but it'll be good for that time, and everybody gets a reward regardless of what level they are.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think there needs to be a template, though. If someone is scaling up, unless they change it to where they're giving like pretty much all the abilities by level 20.
Well, they can change when you get your different abilities. Like, all tank specs need to have a taunt and, like, maybe a personal cooldown by level 20. Healers need to have, you know, a big heal and, I don't know, depending on the healing class, maybe a dot or something. And then, like, let's say a level 20 priest goes in there and the only heal that they have is, like, heal and then they can shield. Well, when you level them up, make sure that the normal heal either costs less mana than it would normally if they were 100, because that's the only tool that they have access to, or make sure it heals for more so that, you know, they're not casting it as much. You know, the only problem that they could probably come across, other than just implementing the whole system in the first place, is just fine tuning those little things, figuring out what those breaking points are, like you were saying. You need to have the template for these classes need this, these classes need this. Figure out when CC is available. It's going to be tricky to kind of bring it all together, but if it's something that they can do, I think it adds so much more to the game than just okay, well, here's another couple dungeons, because here's every dungeon and every person on your realm is someone that you can play with. I like that idea. Plus, it gives you back the personal responsibility that we had before LFD.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will say this. I like the sound of this. Like, I would seriously go through and play. And we have people in the chat room pointing out it's a lot of, factors for them to have to consider. Sounds like a lot of work for Blizzard, more than they will probably do. You're all right. We're talking about something hypothetical. It's certainly not coming to the game right now, probably ever. But
we have a habit of that.
That said,
that's why we pay our subscriptions, so they can go and figure out how to make the system that we're suggesting happen. Because we're clearly designing their game for them at this point.
I'd be way into this. I would level up probably entire characters this way. Like, this sounds like a really fun way to play the game, and this would be the kind of feature that. If it was being announced for an expansion feature, I would be super excited for it. I would be all in, and I would be way into it. So, I guess we'll see if that ever happens. If this day ever comes, we'll say we were there to talk about it.
Yes,
before it happened.
And the Lazy River and Orgrimmar. Those are the two things I'm looking forward to. Oh, and a fourth spec for everyone.
Yeah,
that's all I'm looking forward to.
Secret fourth spec for everybody. Yeah.
We don't even have third spec.
Well, a fourth option, the mage healing spec. I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna happen. I heal with arcane energy.
Healing with magic.
Yeah.
I shot magic into you and you feel better for it.
Yeah, it's better than the hunter healing spec. Thwank. Anyways.
Hunters would be back here.
Well, do either of you have anything to add?
No, I've once again gotten myself excited for a feature that doesn't exist.
Oh, and I'm going to throw this out because I would like to see, I've thrown out this idea for probably about 2 years now, guild airships. I don't want a guild hall, I want a guild airship, because the airship could go anywhere we want it to go. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, who has control over customizing it? You know what? I'm not even going to get into that with you all. Blizzard shouldn't just take the lazy way out and say, well, only the officers do. No, we'll fix the system. Fix the system to where, like, everyone has, like, some say, give everyone a personal stake in how their guild airship gets customized, set up, whatever. Figure that out and get that rolling, because other games have guild halls, guild housing, and you know what? They're not falling apart. People love that feature, so that needs to happen.
Well, look, the only thing that I can say about, guild airships not happening is that the Horde airships, unfortunately, never seem to stay afloat.
Well, then get better, goblins,
better balloons.
Okay?
Get better goblins. Yeah.
Get a better class of goblin.
Yeah, okay, that works. Well, you know what? I think that really does kind of close off the topic, so let's go ahead and listen to some Celebrity Murloc Theater.
Celebrity Murloc Theater.
Hey guys, we have a lot of Celebrity Murloc Theater this week. I'm actually really excited for this. Now, if this is your first time listening to the episode, you may be thinking, what the crap is Celebrity Murloc Theater? John, would you care to explain?
Celebrity Murloc Theater is where you, the listeners, will send us your submissions for Celebrity Murloc Theater. There are a couple different ways you can do this. You can send us a submission of you doing an impression of a Murloc, like going into a microphone, and we'll play it for you. The other option is you can go ahead and do an impression of a celebrity Murloc. For example, a Murloc that sounds like, I don't know, Mr. T, and says like, I pity the Murgle. Something like that. I don't know. You come up with something. It's not my job to tell you what to do, except it is right now. The third option is you can go ahead and take a clip from a movie or a TV show or a trailer, hint, hint, and you can go ahead and throw a Murloc in there somewhere where you feel it is appropriate. You can go ahead and send that. It can be either you doing the Murloc voice or you can use Blizzard's pre-canned Murloc voice. Also, we've had people ask if they can write us a script and we will perform it. Yes, we totally will, as long as it requires Ben to do a bad accent. Back to you, Ben.
All right. Well, we do have, like I said, 3 submissions. We're going to go ahead and start with the one that I got pretty much like 20 minutes before the show. So, Alessander, thank you very much for this submission. And hey, everybody, here we go.
Chewie, we're home.
Alessander, thank you very much for sending that. We really appreciate it. And
I was wondering when the Murloc was going to come in. Hey, people have already done the thing I alluded to in the thing. This is why I should be allowed to listen to him before the show. But there we go.
well, yeah, it's an incredibly great idea. Next up, we have one from Haster, which was sent last week. Although I said that John hadn't heard it, I'm pretty sure he has, and I don't exactly remember what it was. So I'm looking forward to it. So with that being said, Haster, thank you for sending it in.
The Battle of New York was the end of the world. This, now, is the new world. People are different. They have access to tech, to formulas, secrets they're not ready for.
Why was I pulled out of Paris?
That you'll have to ask Agent Coulson.
Yeah. I'm clearance level 6. I know that Agent Coulson was killed in action before the Battle of New York. Got the full report.
Welcome to level. Sorry, that corner was really dark and I couldn't help myself.
So Haster.
Coulson. The secret agent, shield agent level Murgle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in the mood to do an actual Murloc impression tonight, apparently. I just keep going Murgle, sounding bleh about it.
Yeah. And last but not least, Ceraphus, thank you for sending one in. I really appreciate it.
Even though it's very similar.
Who knows?
There are
Who knows what's
previous
going to happen? Yeah, so Ceraphus, we got this one earlier today, or was it yesterday?
Earlier this morning, I sent it.
This morning, yeah. So, like I said, they're great ideas, all of them, and we love them. So with that, thank you very much, Ceraphus.
Chewie, we're home.
I love the fact that they are just so similar. It's absolutely great.
I mean, as soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to turn this into Celebrity Murloc Theater. I'm gonna send it.
I think it's perfect, and I think having multiple versions of it on the same show is also accurate because I have watched that trailer a ridiculous amount of times.
Yes.
So it is only fitting that we play the Murloc version a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was just different enough to where I found it funny both times. So I'm all for that. One had the kids, one had the dramatic music right at the end. So I appreciate both of them. I appreciate all 3 of them. All you Murlocs out there are great.
Exactly. And John, the reason is for the kids, right?
It's for the kids.
It's for the kids. So, Ceraphus, thank you very much for sending yours in, Alessander, and, of course, Haster. You three, you're great. So make sure that you send some in next week, because guess what? We played all 3 that we got this week. We need more. So yay! Also, we got an email very much right before the show.
Yes, indeed.
So, John, want to go for it?
Fracta from AIE says, I've heard raiders complain about the trash in raids since I started playing in Burning Crusade. It's true, I've been doing that. I've had an idea for the trash since then. After the first kill of a boss, all the trash up to that boss would disappear for all future attempts. Not a bad idea. On the legendary grind, towards the end of Miss, the grind was sped up quite a bit, so Blizz has already put a catch-up mechanic in to speed up the grind, and I would imagine they would do the same this expansion pack. Thanks for all the time you put in to bring me more enjoyment in and out of WoW. And I almost just read the next part of our show notes as if it was part of the email. That's actually it. That's the end of the email, so I'm going to stop right there.
I like that idea. We kill the first boss. I never have to see that trash again. I'm a fan.
I like that idea retroactively in a world called Siege of Orgrimmar.
Very true.